Thank you everyone for joining our RITIS user group meeting. We're going to give it another minute or two to let people join as they're coming in. Hey Patrick, did you have a question? Your hand's raised.
Click the wrong button.
Hi.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so for the sake of time, we're going to go ahead and get started. Um, Again, welcome and thank you for joining us for our RITIS user group meeting today, December 4th. We are using Zoom, so we do have just some logistics with audio and the phone. If you're dialing in, um, make sure that you're muted. We are recording this webinar. If you have any issues at all, please contact me directly. My email is here on the slide. And let me know if you have any troubles with anything at all. And then the Q&A box for the questions is what you can use to submit anything that you might want us to see. We do not have the chat box available for this webinar. And so to do that, just click Q&A, go ahead and type in, and we'll get them. And then if you also need to be unmuted, you can also just raise your hand and I can do that as well for you to speak. We do have some RITIS events coming up. On the next slide, you'll see we have a RITIS user group meeting on March 5th, 2026 from 1:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. I also did have noted just recently, we are going to have a RITIS enhancement group meeting. That's December 9th. So that will be next Tuesday, 1:30 p.m. So let me know if you have questions on that meeting, but we will be having the enhancement group meeting as well. And then next is going to be one of our co-chairs for our RITIS user group meeting, Matt Glasser, who's the National TS Seminole account lead with RITIS. So I will hand it over to him.
Wonderful. I sure do appreciate it, Nicole. Welcome, everybody. Glad to have you here. I think we can go ahead and hide my picture and get right on into the meat and potatoes of this. So we have a lot coming up for you. We've switched the order a little bit. So normally we'll have Michael at the tail end to show all the updates to RITIS. We move those to the front, and then we'll be following that up with our spotlight presentation shortly after that. But before we get there, of course, we'll have our poll questions. And I think I want to use this as a good opportunity just so that we can keep rolling on through to do those introductions of all of our speakers and make sure that I give them a proper welcome. So with that, and while you are doing the poll questions that are up, you get to hear me speak a little bit more. So first up will be Michael Pack. Michael Pack is the director of the CAT Lab at the University of Maryland, where he works to make transportation data more easily accessible and usable by ops, planners, and researchers. He has previously worked at the University of Virginia and the Oak Ridge National Laboratory. Ali Rishi is the transportation engineer at Kimley Horn with a focus in traffic signal operations, emergency management, and illumination. Allison currently serves as the manager at the Austin Mobility Management Center, which operates approximately 1,100 signals and various other ITS devices within the city of Austin. Allison is a graduate of the University of Arkansas And prior to her time in Austin, she worked on numerous highway and residential illumination design and traffic projection projects in Texas. And finally is UJ Huang from ARC, the Atlanta Regional Commission. UJ is a data analyst in the Transportation Planning Department at the Atlanta Regional Commission. He holds a PhD in city and regional planning from Georgia Tech and has several years of experience in travel behavior research. His work focuses on delivering actionable insights to inform effective planning practices through the state-of-the-art analytics tool and data visualization. And I think we have our poll questions up. Nicole, have those answers slowed down any? And do we want to leave that open for just a few more minutes?
Yep, I still see some coming in, so I'll just leave them up for another minute or two.
Very good. Well, while you're doing that, again, very excited to have you. We have over 100 participants on the call right now. From our registration, we see close to 200 people had raised their hands signing up to say that they were interested in being here, and that represents over 22 states, not counting all the wonderful agencies and vendors that are attached to those different states and DOTs. I think with that, I'll give you a few moments of silence while we pull in those polls. Do we want to, Nicole, give a quick highlight of those poll answers before hopping over to Michael?
Yeah, so the first question, how often do you attend RITIS user group meetings? We have most people say 3 to 4 times per year, which is what the meetings are that we have. And then how do we use the data and visualization results from RITIS tools? It's a little bit of both. The first two answers were results directly from RITIS to develop products and then download the data and use our own agency's in-house tools to create tables and visuals. So it looks like most people on the call here do a little bit of both. And the last one, who is your primary audience for sharing information that was developed from RITIS and the PDA suites? It looks like right now management is in the lead.
Very good. Well, we certainly do appreciate your already active participation. Michael, with that, I'm going to go ahead and cue you up and put myself back on mute.
Thank you, Matt. So we're going to go through and spend a few minutes to talk about some of the work that we've been doing, some of the deployments we've put out, and things that are in progress. Bob Fry, who's on the call, is our leader for the enhancement group. That group is meeting next Tuesday, like Nicole just mentioned, and Bob will be leading that for us. Well, we wanted to give you two quick updates on the number one and number two priorities from that enhancement group. The first is a work zone performance management tool that we've been working on for over a year now. This tool is almost finished and could be deployed as early as next week, but definitely before the end of this month. It'll be ready for you all to use. This is going to help you to understand the performance of work zones on a weekly basis. How well are you meeting certain targets? How bad's the congestion getting? All those sorts of metrics. And so we're excited to have that come out. And I imagine at the next user group meeting, we'll do a proper intro and we'll walk through some use cases for that. But the second priority that the user group had was to develop a truck parking analysis tool that could work at any jurisdiction, any state in the country. So for the past 6 months or more, we've been evaluating different data sets from several vendors, and we've actually put together a preliminary tool that helps look at various truck parking metrics, like risky truck parking behavior, hot spots of truck parking activity, the amount of time people are parking in a particular area. So it's possible that we'll be deploying a version of this tool as early as January next year, but we wanted to give you some quick updates on the progress. So I'm actually going to turn it over to Greg Jordan with the Cat Lab, and he's going to talk about what we found and what we've been putting together. Greg?
Thank you, Michael. And I just want to mention that one of the things we're doing is is enlisting interested people from various agencies who have local expertise, because we're going to give those, like one person from the agencies that are interested, a look at this ahead of everybody else so that they can check it out with their local areas and give it that local sniff test of places they know, and help us decide on the priorities of the additional features. So this is just getting us started, and we're very excited about what we have already. The underlying data has been very, I say, very well behaved. Where we're seeing the location of trucks are exactly where we expect to see trucks, as this indicates. Michael, next slide, please. Here's a few where we just kind of zoom in, and it's largely, these photographs don't go with the red dots. These are aerial photos from Google, but you can see the reasonableness of the location where we're finding it. And we're also finding at fuel pumps, you've got 30-minute durations, and you have other places where you have long parking durations. Next slide, please. We actually have loaded the whole state of Massachusetts, and you can literally scroll around and look around the state and see where these events are taking place. And you've got a couple of service plazas on the Massachusetts Turnpike, and the other one is just a little rest stop with no services on the bottom right corner there. Next slide, please. Here's a kind of a zoom in at one of those plazas, and that red dot you see in the lower left, that's that spot there. Go ahead and hit enter, Michael. Yeah, that particular record was parked there. It arrived at 3 o'clock p.m. and it stayed for 12 hours. Next, hit enter, please. This one is up by the fuel pumps. And again, I said before, you're getting them right around 20, 30 minutes hanging around the fuel pumps. Next, please. One of the nice things, you can scan for where vehicles are parking in exposed areas. We believe that even though in a holy grail is to be able to take any parking area and clock in vehicles and clock out vehicles and have a capacity profile, we don't have the penetration rate to do that as of yet. That's kind of where we hope to be headed in coming years or months. But for now, if we have vehicles parking in exposed locations, we want to look at the times they park, how long they stay, where they came from or where they went to from those locations, to help get insights about when we can infer that the non-exposed places are full. Next slide, please. Here's a look at the tool that's coming soon. This is the same spot right there, applying those vehicles. If you go and you select the parking events that you're interested in, you get graphics to the right. Go ahead and hit enter. Across the top, you see how many parking events you found during your filtered time period. And so it's the same kind of idea of setting up a study. You have lots of different ways to slice and dice. Next, please, Michael. These are single events down below, or next. You have other options for reporting or bundling what you find. Next. This is using hex cells. I think this is a level 11, I think. But it's just another way to consolidate the counts and to report them and make sense of them. Next. Or you can load custom zones where you can really get tight granularity about who's parking in residential areas, who's parking on ramps in particular areas, and group them by class, so that you get, for any area you pick, you can get a pie chart that says, in this area, we have X% parking in residential streets, X% parking in safe and secure parking areas, and so on. So the user will be able to define that and then run time series to see how things may have changed. Next slide. These land use codes allow you to kind of figure out exactly what you get. Okay, next. Here's a zoom in of that same spot, and you can see where the counts are in the different parts of the area. And then the bar charts to the right, you have the land use bar charts, you have the temporal, the durations, time of arrival, time of departure, those kinds of things. Next. Here's a case of looking at a rest area with all time period selected. And then if you take out the anything less than 3 hours, go ahead and click the next. This is what we have for longer than 3 hours. So that's a quick sneak preview. I think that's the last slide, Michael. Yep. And again, please email me or Michael and say that here is the name of a hopefully a technically oriented person on your staff who might have the ability to look at this in your state at a rest stop near somebody's house that they think they know all about it, and let them sniff at it, and together we'll help validate this. That's all I've got.
Thanks, Greg. The next work that's in progress right now is dash cam integration. So we've been working with a vendor called Vision to take essentially commercial vehicle dash cam imagery and try to integrate it into different components of the RITIS platform. And I believe I've shown this in the past. We've already found a way to integrate these dash cam images into the congestion scans in the Probe Data Analytics Suite. So you can essentially choose a corridor that you're interested in, a date range. We show you where the congestion is, and then we overlay truck trajectories on top of it. So each one of these lines here is a separate truck trip that was traveling down the roadway, and the dots represent where photos were taken. And you can click on an individual dot. This is a congested area. You can see what the truck was seeing as it was driving down the roadway. You can see it's a lot of traffic out there. Or you can come over and click on another area where it wasn't congested, and you can see that the road is much more open. Now, it's pretty boring just looking at congestion by itself, but we're coming up on winter weather. And so this should be useful in understanding whether roads are cleared. And it can also be used for other cool things as well, which I'm going to show you right now. So we've also found a way to integrate this on the live RITIS map. And so let's say that you are looking at the map and there's an incident that's been reported, maybe through Waze or through someone else. And here's a real incident right here, disabled vehicle in Maryland, and you don't have a camera nearby. You can't check it out. So what you can do now is you can double click on the segment of roadway that this disabled vehicle is being reported, and then these little blue dots will pop up. Those blue dots are where photos have been taken as a truck passed by this area within the last 5, 10, or up to like 30 or 45 minutes ago. And you can essentially go in, and I'll do it right now, okay, there's this disabled vehicle. I've come in and I can click on one of these blue dots, and I can say, okay, well, here's what I'm seeing there. And I can start walking down the roadway, and there it is. We found that disabled vehicle that's on the side of the roadway and confirmed that that's a legit issue. And there's actually another disabled truck right there as well. Now here I'm showing a disabled vehicle, but the same thing can work for crashes. So here's a crash that was reported in Virginia. And we can click on it. And I think I'm going to bring up the timeline first and just see who's responding, who's on scene. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to look at the live CCTV. There does happen to be a camera in the area here. But when I bring up the camera, I can't really see much. Angle's not good. It's a little far away. So instead, I click on the segment and I can bring up the dash cams of trucks that were passing by. So I'm going to zoom in here and I click on one. And now I can see this wreck. I can see a crash attenuator truck that's there. I can also see another VDOT response vehicle and a worker that's out. Looks like they've set up some cones. And then further past that is the actual tanker truck that was in the incident. So all of that can be brought up and visualized. And we think there's a lot of potential here. Our MATOC, our Metropolitan Area Transportation Operations Coordination Group, has been using this to try to get images of both minor and major crashes. This is one that they grabbed the other day where they were able to see the aero board truck on site, see how it's impacting traffic. So we're pretty excited about this. It does cost money to get access to these APIs from Vision, but I think there's quite a lot of value in it. There's a lot of potential. We're going to continue having a few agencies test drive this and see what value they're getting out of it. Again, just like Greg mentioned earlier, if your agency is a RITIS user and you're interested in test driving this to see if it's worthwhile or not, or if you just want to give us feedback on how we've implemented it, we'd love to have you test drive it. So give us a call, send us an email, we'll get you hooked up. The next item I want to talk about is real-time vehicle movements. So right now on RITIS, you can see pro-based speed data on segments. So we take the road segments, we divide them up into chunks, and you can essentially see what the speed is like, the average speed on those roadways. Well, now we've worked in the ability to go in and look at individual vehicle movements. So here I've zoomed into the Disney World region. I've had this sitting here for too long. Let me refresh this, bring it back up. We're essentially consuming data from individual connected vehicles and cell phones, and you're able to see live the movement of vehicles as they're moving down the roadway. Just a second. Here we go. Gonna zoom into the DC region here. And it takes a few seconds for everything to load because it is a significant amount of data. Here in a second, we'll start to see stuff load up. Usually takes about 10 or 12 seconds. Come on, there we go. So all of these little triangles, these little arrows that are moving out, these are actual vehicles that are driving down the roadway. The color represents the approximate speed of that vehicle. It doesn't have any speed limit awareness right now, so a slow moving vehicle on a road with a slow speed limit is going to appear red, even if it's traveling at the speed limit. But you can see the vehicles moving around. These are anonymized, and we can only plot their position for about 5 minutes before they disappear. I'm going to go back down to Florida, take a look at what's going on down there. So this is the Orlando International Airport. And here in a second, when the data loads, you'll see the vehicles coming in and moving to drop people off at the airport. There we go. You can see them slowing down as they move around here. What's really cool, and there's nothing significant going on right now, but if there is a significant crash, then you can zoom in and you can actually see the vehicles detouring and moving around particular crash locations. So here, this is Disney World. You can see people filing in to Epcot and getting ready to park. Here we've got the interstate nearby, and you can actually see the end of the queue backing up. And so you can really tell exactly where problems are persisting. You can see people taking exits, going off in different directions. So what I want to show you now is a little video recording we did. This is going to be sped up. This is the New Glenn rocket that blasted off down in Florida just a couple of days ago. Down in the right-hand corner, you've got the video of the rocket blasting off. There it goes. Just before the rocket blasts off, there's still a significant amount of traffic heading towards the viewing stations. Now what's going to happen is the rocket is going to go up into orbit, and then the boosters are going to come back down and they're going to land. And after they land, everyone's going to start to leave the area. It's almost like an evacuation that occurs. And you're able to watch that evacuation occur in real time. So there's nothing more to see. It's time to go home. Everyone starts to leave the area, and you start to get the chaos that comes with it. So people start leaving Jetty Park area, and you can see the queues starting to build up. People are coming from different directions. You've got merge points. See, there's a significant amount of traffic here going west. Up here, we've got southbound traffic from the Kennedy Center. You can see the queue building up here where people need to join, and people leaving Cars Park as well. And we're going to zoom in. You've got the merging traffic creates a slowdown on 528. They're on the western side. And we'll see the bottlenecks continue to grow. And I think just being able to see these individual vehicles moving around is very unique, and there's some insights that you can gather from this that you can't gather from other data sources. Another interesting thing that you're going to see pop up here in just a second is over here on the left, you're going to see a whole bunch of vehicles move together. Oh, we'll start on the right. Here's a cruise ship that's heading out. But over on the left, we're going to see the Brightline train come down. You're going to see a whole bunch of cars moving in real time down the Bright. Here it comes right there. Brightline train's coming down. Everyone's moving together. They come out, start to head south. And after it passes, you'll see another train start to come north. This video is about 5 minutes long. We'll post this to our website here so people can experiment with it further a little bit later. But we'll move on for now. The next thing that we've been working on is maritime trip analytics. So we've largely been roadway focused, but now we are starting to do things with air traffic and with maritime traffic as well. So this is an example of using the trip analytics tool to look at maritime traffic. I'm looking at the Port of Baltimore. It's the Sparrows Point area right there. The black lines that are coming out, those are the paths that ships took when they either came into port or left port. Over on the right-hand side, we have the different vessel types: tugboats, dry bulk car carriers, sailing ships, pleasure craft. You can come in and you can do what's called trip clustering, where we can look at where the ships actually docked, or we can cluster them together in larger cells. We can look by ports, we can look by coastlines. You can overlay the aerial photos so you can get a better sense of what the port looks like. Then you can even animate the individual trips. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to play out this month's worth of data in just a couple of minutes. I'm going to add tails to the trips. It's going to take me a second to set everything just right. And then we can zoom out, or zoom in and zoom out, and you'll start to see the individual trips moving around as these little orange pathways. There they go. Here's your individual pathways. This is more exciting in really densely populated waters. And then the last thing you can do is you can add what's called origin destination arcs. So you can see the actual origin and destination of trips. I'm going to zoom out and we can see that some of the trips left the port and went over into Europe. Some went down to South America. You can see the destination of those trips for this particular month. There's all sorts of neat new capabilities that are going to be built out in here. And again, if anyone on the call is interested in test driving this, if you do port analysis, just let me know and we can get you access to this to play around with it for a little while. All right, a few more updates before we hand it over to our spotlight presenters. The first is with signal analytics. If you're a signal analytics user, we've made it easier to select intersections on the map in the tool itself. You can now just click on individual intersections to add or remove them from your selection. You can still draw boxes around things, but this individual click makes it a little bit easier. And coming in the next week or two, you'll see dramatic speed improvements in the results from signal analytics. Be on the lookout for that. In probe data analytics, the trend map tool, which does animations of historic speed data on a map, you can now look at historic weather radar data on your trend map and historic road weather data. So that's precipitation mapped down to the individual road segments, and that can be animated as well. So play around with the trend maps and let us know what you think about that. We've also added historic weather radar data to the Region Explorer. This is another tool in probe data analytics that lets you look at bottlenecks. Most people use this for real-time bottleneck analysis, but you can actually go back and select a specific date and a specific time down to the minute, and the tool will redraw where all the bottlenecks were at that particular date and time, and it'll redraw what the weather was like at the same time. So take a look at that. Let us know what you think. That's it for the big updates and the work that's in progress right now. I just want to remind everyone that there's a whole bunch of training videos and tutorials that are out there if you're looking to learn more about these tools. And you can always reach out to our support team. We're happy to answer any questions that you have. And it looks like there are some questions that have come in. Maybe we can hand it over to our spotlight presenters, or do you want me to try to answer some of these?
I think, Michael, let's go ahead and hand over to our spotlight presenters, since I know that you guys are well versed in doing the Q&A on the page. But I think we'll go ahead and pull our next presentation up, and I believe you, Jay, is our first presenter, but we'll give that a second.
Also, Nicole is gonna share the screen, or should I?
You
I
can
can
You
share
are
the screen.
welcome. Yeah, you're
Okay.
welcome to, yeah.
All right.
All right.
All right.
We'll hand it to you.
Okay, can everyone see my screen?
We can, yes.
Okay, perfect. All right. Hi, everybody. Yeah, thanks for having me. I am Huijang Huang. I go by UJ. I'm a data analyst in Atlanta Regional Commission. I work at the Transportation Planning Department and Performance Monitoring and Analysis team. Today I'm gonna talk about our corridor performance report dashboard, which heavily rely on the RITIS data. So I'm gonna spend about 5 minutes to give you a brief introduction to the dashboard, how we made it, and then spend another 5 minutes to demonstrate how you can use the dashboard. So first of all, I want to mention that this is not my original idea. We had this original corridor performance report made by Nogil Park in our team, another data analyst in our team. He created this static PDF document containing information on 360 corridors that we monitor in Metro Atlanta. And the report provides information on traffic such as corridor profile, travel time bottleneck, reliability, congestion and causes, and some our own analysis in safety, air quality, and equity. As you can see in the table, the information that the report provides heavily dependent on RITIS data. And so he first came up with this idea, and what I did is just modernizing this dashboard. By modernizing, I mean the key two changes. So first is it used to be just a PDF document, but I changed it to a web-based interactive dashboard, so that is more accessible for a wider audience. And also, I automated most of the time-consuming work so we can update and maintain more easily. So in terms of automation, we did two steps. So first, data collection, mainly the data collection from RITIS platform is time consuming because we have so many corridors, 360 corridors. So we automated that process using Python, Selenium, and then we also automated the report generation process. So once the data is collected or updated, then the report, the web dashboard is also automatically updated as well. And since this is RITIS user group, I'm sure most of you are familiar with this process. But for those of you are not familiar with this process, let me quickly show you how we typically access data through RITIS platform. The PDA, the Probe Data Analytics suite. So, for example, the performance chart, if you want to get a performance chart, then first you need to specify the road of your interest, and then you specify some additional query parameters such as time period and the time interval, and then click submit. Then this is the main bottleneck, the report generation process. This can take anytime between a few seconds to a few minutes. So if you want to get like hundreds of reports like we do, it's gonna take a long time. So what we did is simply automating the process that you just seen. As you can see, it's just run automatically. I want to clarify here that I was supposed to get a permission to do this, to read this before I do this. But I didn't. I just made this and then share with them afterwards. And then I asked them, I did this, but is it okay? Can I keep doing automation using web automation tool with your platform? And Redis were generous enough to allow me to do this. So now that we have this program, it's much easier to update this platform periodically. So we plan to update the report annually or biannually. Okay, so how we can access the report? Either you can go to ARC website, or I'm just gonna put it on the chat, the link on the chat. So either you click the link I put on the chat, or if you go to ARC website, you will see there's what we do button, click transportation planning. On the right side tab at the very bottom, there's transportation dashboards. You click corridor performance report. So this is what you will see. So first you need to click an individual corridor that you are interested, either from the map. You can click from the map. It's a little laggy, but you can click from the map or from the table here. The two are synced. So let's say I am interested in this 285 North. Click View Corridor Report. then this is the report of that specific corridor. First, you will get this interactive map that you can see the surrounding context, and it gives you some basic information, corridor profile, where the key bottleneck is, and delay cost in dollar value, also reliability, and multiple plots, all from RITIS platform. So for example, this one is travel time by time of day. So for clockwise, so it's I-25 east, north, but the eastbound, there's traffic, there's congestion in the PM peak. But counterclockwise, both AM peak and PM peak has congestion. And from the color, you can see as we move from 2021 to 2023, the congestion is getting worse, which is kind of obvious since we were moving forward from COVID. And this is peak period travel time by day of week. And overall, you can see Tuesday and Wednesdays are bad. And this is congestion scan plot from RITIS. The right side is counterclockwise, left side is clockwise. So you can see, obviously, counterclockwise is worse, and PM peak is really bad. It's red, and especially this section, the I-20 to 85 north near I-20, where it meets I-20, is especially worse, which aligns with our common sense. And here is causes of congestion. We're missing 2023 data that happens. You can see most of the congestion is from recurrent, with some incidents, about 30%. And also unclassified. And safety analysis, you can see from the plot on the right side, when you see per VMT, crash rate is actually below average, below region-wide average. And air quality wise is worse than region-wide average. And there's also some socio-demographic analysis as well. So based on all this information, we calculate this corridor improvement priority rank. It's a really long name, but we set a priority of those 360 corridors for us internally to use for planning activities. I think that that's about it. That was a quick overview of the slide. If you have any question, I'll be happy to answer.
Appreciate that, UJ. I think that was really great. It looks like there is one question in the chat. I think it is for you. Would you maybe talk about how you decided to use Selenium? Did you consider using any the RITIS APIs directly?
RITIS, I looked into the RITIS API documentation. Our main data from RITIS is these plots, right? But through the API, you cannot get those plots. So that was the main reason we didn't use it.
Gotcha. And I'll ask this back to Haroon. It was part of that question about using that the Selenium software in particular, or was there or did we get you covered? So I think,
Um,
oh yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, UJ.
yeah. There are a few options for web browser automation. There are multiple tools, but Selenium is the one that I'm familiar the most. So that's the main reason I used it. But there are plenty of options. Was that your question?
Yeah, I think that was the question. And Zhang, I believe all of the presentation slides will be shared shortly after this. Nicole, I believe we get everything collected and nice and cleaned up. I think it's usually a week or two after, but I'll let you clarify that.
Yes, we will share everything that is seen here on our website, the tetc.org website, or sorry, tetcoalition.org site. And then we also upload the recording of this meeting to our YouTube channel for anybody that may want to share it or may have missed it.
Perfect. Well, if you have any other additional questions, please continue to feel free to drop them in the Q&A box. With that, Allison, I'm going to go ahead and queue you up to take over from here.
Perfect. Thanks, y'all. Thank you, UJ, as well for that presentation. I thought Programming 1 was going to end me in college, so I appreciate seeing somebody apply such a cool application with the RITIS tool. But we did introductions earlier. My name is Allison Ritchie. I am a traffic engineer at Kimley Warren, currently serving as full-time staff over at City of Austin Mobility Management Center. Wanted to take some time to talk with y'all today about kind of an atypical traffic engineering presentation of the RITIS data set. So maybe, there it goes. So at the Mobility Management Center, the City of Austin is utilizing not only RITIS, but the Signal Analytics Suite, kind of in a variety of different capacities. We're using it to primarily measure signal performance. So in the context of trying to modify signal efficacy, like adjusting for split failure and control delays, we're also looking at construction timing, special event timing. If you've ever been to Austin, South by Southwest, Austin FC, Austin City Limits, these are very large events that we manage the traffic timing for. So we're using the RITIS suite to evaluate how well we're doing that. But we're also trying to proactively detect potential hardware failures. So using things like huge swings in control delay, particularly against coordinated phases, to try to tease out, that could be alluding to a push button failure or a failure in vehicle detection. So we're doing these things that most folks would consider really classic traffic engineering application. However, since we've had NRIX and RITIS and Signal Analytics for quite a long time now, other city departments have become familiar with us using the data set. And we've been expanding in the last couple of years to use it in a much more atypical sense and kind of stretching our wings to see what are all of the ways we can really get that bang for our buck with this data set. So very much moving into the, well, what else can we do with it type of approach. So this presentation will be focused on how we're partnering with our Vision Zero group to be able to better understand what that application could look like. So in the context of Vision Zero, which is a zero fatalities on our roadway networks, an agency primarily determined by safety, their projects are in partnership with a lot of other groups. In the context of the Mobility Management Center, one of the largest applications of this project that we do is the Rest in Red program. For folks that are not familiar, Rest in Red in signal operations primarily is referencing signals resting in red on the main line until a vehicle is detected. You could imagine this is something that's primarily for the overnight period. We don't really want signals resting in red during the day. We want you to hit a green light, not a red light. But the primary purpose of this operation and why it's generally viewed in the safety lens is because it is chiefly used to manage crashes and crash reduction, as well as reducing speed. So when Vision Zero approached the MMC, the Mobility Management Center, and said that they'd had a pot of funding to be able to implement Rest in Red applications for corridors across the city, we were really excited to be able to help. But one of their concerns was getting a data set that they could point to that essentially would help them recommend where to put Rest in Red. We needed to be able to understand where we're corridors that were a high rate of speed. But primarily, we wanted to try to see if we could leverage existing data sets so that we didn't have to purchase counters or radar or anything else to try to more closely understand that. So thinking about our tool belt, we were able to identify RITIS as having an application with speed to be able to evaluate all of our corridors kind of ad hoc to be able to more closely understand what that could look like. So using the RITIS platform, y'all have seen this before, we were able to essentially pull studies for all of our critical arterials and look at approach speed and vehicle count for the overnight period to be able to understand was speeding an issue on this corridor or not through the overnight period. The vehicle count became really important. We wanted to understand, these tools are not catching all of the vehicles on the network. This is not the same thing as taking counts, but it's a good gut check. But we wanted to make sure that we didn't have a vehicle count of like one vehicle overnight and be trying to make an engineering judgment based off of that. So using that, we were able to run this analysis for our overnight corridors and looked at approach speed. And then we were able to essentially balance that with the posted speed limit. Again, it is not the same thing as taking counts, getting the 85th percentile speed, but this was going to be a really great way for us to cut down about 250 miles of critical arterial that we were looking at into a subset of 8 to 10 intersections that would actually be feasible to be able to deploy this at. So we took that RITIS platform and we transmuted it into a pretty Excel table. We're all engineers. We like looking at data. We like looking at tables. So this was a really easy way for us to not only internally disseminate this information, but also graphically represent it to executive staff, to Vision Zero partners, to folks that may not be in the weeds in the data like we are very often. So we were taking that 75 percentile speed, cross-referencing that with the posted speed limit, which is what that speed limit 35 across the top is indicating. Mostly for fun, we also pulled 95%. Largely, we're not going to use that as much, but we just wanted to see how far were people actually willing to go, more or less. But we were able to kind of rank all of our corridors and ultimately determine that the Riverside corridor, which is the data y'all are looking at on screen now, is the data set that we wanted to look at. You would see particularly on the left side of the table, Lakeshore and Parker, where the 75th percentile speed was 5 miles an hour over the posted speed limit, and particularly got higher as you move to the right side of the table. So this was clearly a candidate that we could point to data that was repeatable and rerunnable, that was able to indicate that speeding was a problem overnight here. So this was the core data set that we used to be able to recommend this corridor for rest and run operation. And we were able to go ahead and work with our signal engineers and other folks to be able to go through the rest of the engineering process with that. A couple of major takeaways from this whole process is that we generated data without needing to deploy hardware. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, our Vision Zero team had been receiving funding for this program. So for us to be able to save dollars by not having to purchase counters and do all of that sort of manipulation, and instead was using a data set that we were already paying for, was really helpful, not only to show efficacy with the groups, but also continue to potentially roll this out to other corridors. The data, because a lot of folks up until we did this project didn't even know that we could do something like a speed analysis, could also use that to other groups to recommend other mitigations in the spirit of continuing with speed reduction. We also shared this data for potential deployment for dynamic speed devices like the STDs. And because we can save down the reports, very readily able to run before and after analyses kind of on an ongoing basis, and also be able to yardstick as we deploy other mitigations to really be able to see individually the benefit of those things. So a little bit of a different application, I'm sure, for what most of the folks on this call are usually seeing. But I think being able to share value with your partners and be able to use the data, even in the most atypical capacity, continues to show the value of this data set, and definitely worth sharing. So thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Appreciate that, Allison. That was really great. It looks like we have a few questions in the Q&A. There is one that's just left up from Bob, and I'll do that call out for you here in a second, Bob. But first one was, is the rest in red applied to all kinds of corridors, or are there limits such as only city jurisdictions?
To my knowledge, there is not like a ban on, like a federal roadway or like a DOT that says you can't run rest in red. With some intersection styles, it just doesn't make any sense to. Your very large diamond interchanges, I don't see how you would operationally apply a rest in red operation there. So something to note for the Riverside corridor, it does bisect Interstate 35. And for the purposes of this program, we omitted it from the analysis because it just didn't make sense to put there. So no, thou shalt not, in my understanding. But just from an engineering perspective, it just doesn't make sense for some intersection types.
Sure. And I think it looks like there was a bit of a clarification. Is it a policy possibility on all corridors, not necessarily is it implemented everywhere? So I think you got that one, Allison. So I appreciate that. As a follow-up question, I guess for myself, so I appreciate that you guys were using the signal analytics piece. Did you all look at using, or did you all use the percentile breakdown in regular probe data analytics? And is there a reason that like if you did, is there a reason that you all steered more towards the signal analytics piece over the PDA suite analytics?
I think that we kind of naturally drifted toward the signal analytics piece because in the context of what we were classically using this platform for, that was just what was already in our tool belt. I think that could be something that we could cross-reference and see, if there's a efficacy that we're not getting at this suite, particularly with something like that. The other benefit too is the city of Austin does an annual signal retiming program, like a lot of agencies do, where every corridor gets retimed every 3 years. And we had a lot of these reports already built, like in history. So we just needed to refresh the dates. And so it saved us a lot of time at the beginning to just rerun a report with new times as opposed to having to build something from the bottom. So
Perfect.
kind of multifaceted.
Looked like there was another follow-up from Ben for the rest in red. Did you have a minimum number of samples or other data quality threshold that you all put into place?
In the signal analytics like full suite, I think it starts to flag the data if you're less than 10, I think is where the number turns red. We tried to follow something similar. We did see some reports with a data point of 1, so we were kind of hesitant. So we tried to run the data enough so that it was consistently, if we had a concern about a load sample set, maybe we'd pick a different weekend or something to run it on. But we were trying to get above 10. I think from statistics, and I'm sure there are folks on this call that can clarify this as well, I think your sample size of 30 is supposed to be what it's statistically significant. So we weren't quite swinging for that, but just for the sake of trying not to have one dot make a line, tried to go for above 10.
Perfect. And then this is just a comment, perhaps to you or perhaps to others. This project, the Rest in Red, would be a good future research project on driver compliance with red lights once word gets out around on the purpose and potential spillover on the non-compliance to other corridors. And Bob is not one of our panelists, so I'll go ahead and do this shout out for him on his behalf, which is to say that, going back to Michael Pack's team, and what's going on with the RITIS enhancement user group, that really there is a huge shout out to Michael and the Cat Lab team for all that great work. The enhanced features in RITIS are all amazing, which with a lot more on the way, but of course all that does cost money, lots of money, as Bob would like to call it. With that, DOTs can use different sources of money to contribute to our pooled fund, including SPR or other public agencies like MPOs can contribute. And really the question is, well, why do that? And really part of that contribution is that you get to have a lot more influence in saying where RITIS goes as a platform, and speeding up development for what's coming out. If that is something of interest for you, you can reach out to Michael Pack or Bob Fry to let them know that you're interested in contributing. I will certainly add to this. What's really cool about the way that Michael and the Cat Lab have set this up is that everybody's a little bit on different funding cycles. Everybody re-ups their contracts a little bit differently. And Michael and his folks are able to really not wait for everything to be there all in one chunk of money. If Virginia is able to front end load some money with their contribution and get them going, and then Georgia comes up behind them, that does work for the Cat Lab, that does work for their team. And so that's certainly something that's a lot different than your typical pooled fund where they have to make sure all the money's in before they can really get going on that. Um, let's see, is Greg still on? I think he is.
He had to drop.
Oh, all right. Well, then I'm going to kick it to you, Dr. Pack. Will the truck parking app be available for all NPM RDS pool funded users?
Good question. So the truck parking app does not use NPM RDS data. The truck parking app uses a subset of trips data and trajectory data that can come from one of a couple of different companies. So that that you have to essentially be purchasing data from one of those companies before it can be turned on. Some of you are already. So Jim, I don't know which state you're calling from, but we might be able to get you access. Just
Very good.
send us an email.
And then Nicole, I think we maybe had a couple final slides, of course, that included, I think, some open conversation and dialogue as it related to just feedback to provide to Michael and the rest of the Cat Lab team. But I don't want to jump too far ahead.
Yep. So we have, we get share my. So you guys might disappear on me, but
Beautiful.
go.
Here we go.
Yeah. Well,
And we are seeing your full one, so we get to see all the wonderful notes on the side. So you may want to switch.
how's
There we
that?
go.
Okay.
We'll do that.
Okay. So now, we do have, so are you seeing the presentation view?
We are seeing the slide as well as the upcoming slides on the left.
Okay. I don't know why it started doing this. Let me see. Let me stop sharing. I think Jordan has a question. Let me unmute him. Go ahead, Jordan, if you want to ask your question. I get this. Oh, I guess he put his hand down. Okay. All right, let me see if I can get this back up there. I don't know why it's showing.
And if not, I think it's okay if we see the slides coming up. It's not the end of the world by any stretch.
Okay. How's this?
Beautiful.
Okay.
Then we can go ahead and hop on to the next slide.
All right. Can you see the next slide?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'll start, but Michael, I think I'll probably be handing it over to you here. But really, right, like I just said, we want to use the last bit of this meeting to hear directly from you guys, in terms of what's going on and what do you need and what's going well and what's not going well. As part of this user group, it is important to get that feedback. I mean, of course, you can do it live or you can send your comments directly to support@ritis.org. Um, again, a call out here as Nicole puts that poll up, an open discussion piece is, our next meeting is an enhancement user group meeting that's coming up on Tuesday. Nicole, is that open to everybody that's on the user group or is that a select invite?
I believe that's a select invite. I can reach
Okay.
out to Cheryl or anybody who wants to email me. I can get them connected with Cheryl for that.
Yeah, that would be great. So if you didn't hear that, if you are interested in attending, if you're interested in listening in, by all means, please feel free to reach out to Nicole to do that. I know historically, and Michael and Bob, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe in the past there was kind of like a group of folks that participated that weren't able to provide money but did share their thoughts, and then there was the group that was actually providing funds that was also in attendance at those meetings. Is that accurate?
That's accurate. All are welcome. We're looking for good ideas and needs.
Beautiful. So with that, I think that maybe I'll use that as a nice handover for you. Again, our poll and open discussion is going, Michael, but if there's anything that I missed, by all means, please take it from here.
I think you're good. So this is just the time to tell us what you'd like us to talk about in the future. Also give us feedback on what's not working in the system, what you want to add, and you can raise your hand. You can keep asking questions, but I think we're kind of at the end now. It's either feedback or see you next time.
Yep.
Well,
And
I'll
then-
say I would, see you next time. We've enjoyed having you. Of course, myself and others are happy to hang on here for any live comments or thoughts that you want to share. Of course, please, before you leave, we'd love for you to fill out the poll about topics for our next meetings, as well as features and capabilities that you'd really like to see either brand new or enhanced.
Thank you, Matt.
And I will make one more comment, Nicole, if that's okay. So I
Mhm.
think, something to share with your colleagues for the folks that are still on is that when, this user group is built from people reaching out directly to Nicole and to Cheryl and to others to say that they're interested. If you have members of your agency or of your firm, or you have consultants or contractors that work for you, you know, as you can see, this is open to folks. It's free to attend. So please feel free to let them know to reach out. All it takes is a simple email just to be put on the mailing list.
Yep. Thank you for that.